I've been watching this show on and off since it started, not caught up on the latest seasons. And while I usually roll with the medical dramatics, there's one thing I cannot get past. The way they handle do not resuscitate orders, DNRs. It's not just inaccurate, it's borderline dangerous. I work in the medical field. I stood bedside for 3 family members through terminal illness. I've talked to doctors. I've made the impossible decisions. So yes, I get that it's just a show, but portraying DNRs as some shocking, irrational plot twist isn't just bad writing, it's actively harmful. Here's the reality. Advanced care planning, ACP, including DNRs, is not only helpful, it's one of the most responsible, compassionate things you can do for yourself and your family. Death is not peaceful or clean. It's often painful, undignified, and traumatic unless someone has taken steps to prevent that. And the only way to give someone control over how they leave this world is to let them actually make that decision while they still can. The show acts like DNRs are a one-size-fits-all suicide note. Spoiler alert, they're not. There are levels to this. Patients can specify what kinds of life-saving measures they want, CPR, ventilation, ICU stays, and which ones they don't. It's not about giving up. It's about deciding how much suffering you're willing to endure. That's not weakness, that's bravery. When my family faced terminal illness, each one had some version of an ACP, and without a doubt, it was the right thing. If I can talk someone, anyone, into writing something down, anything, about how they want to be treated when the end comes, I will. It's revocable, it's changeable, and it's one of the best ways to protect your loved ones from having to guess what you would have wanted. But on the show, DNRs are treated like the patient has lost their mind, like it's something shameful or secretive, as if it's more dramatic to have a doctor ignore a clearly stated wish than it is to actually honor it. Every patient going into major surgery has to sign some version of a DNR or ACP paperwork. It's not rare, it's not taboo, it's medicine. And worst of all, one of my family members had a DNR and a paramedic ignored it. They couldn't find the paperwork quickly enough, so he was intubated. He survived, technically, for 48 more hours. It was awful. We considered suing, but ended up settling. Nothing about that experience was heroic. It was traumatic. I'll give credit where it's due. Mark's death in the show was one of the rare exceptions. When he came out of his coma and they discussed his DNR, it was handled with a bit more nuance. They actually acknowledged the ACP paperwork and talked about it. But otherwise, the DNR is always treated like some surprise twist for maximum emotional punch. The family finds out mid-crisis, right as it's happening. Every single time. Some people say the show isn't portraying the characters as selfish, just emotional, and sure, maybe that's true. But intention doesn't negate impact. These scenes could do real harm by discouraging viewers from making these essential plans. And don't even get me started on how easy it would be for the show to educate viewers. We get full-blown speeches about medical statistics and racial inequities, which great, we love that. But when it comes to something as vital as DNRs, they throw realism out the window for the sake of drama. Honestly, 911. Lone Star handled it better in Season 3, Episode 12. A paramedic violated a cancer patient's DNR, saved him, and the patient sued. The end. No hand-wringing, no. But what if love saves him nonsense? Just reality. Hot take, I love Owen, yes really? Okay, I'm on my 4th rewatch, and I've come to a conclusion. Owen Hunt is one of my favorite characters. I know, cue the dramatic gasp. But seriously, he's hilarious, and most of the time, he's right. Let's just agree to pretend the abortion arc and the cheating never happened. We all have our off days. The man adds to the show, a lot. I genuinely don't understand why people are so triggered by his existence. Yes, even after they explain it. I'm listening, I promise, but still, come on. Aside from the whole infidelity thing, I don't actually hate him. That said, this never-ending Owen and Teddy merry-go-round, it's killing me. Give me season 5 Owen back, the one who had actual edge and didn't feel like he was stuck in a soap opera Groundhog Day. Let's be real. Post Christina, they completely flanderized him. He went from a complex, brooding trauma surgeon to a stereotypical clueless white guy. Like when he got schooled by an intern for not recognizing how a disease presents differently in Asian patients, and then Bailey gave him the full TD talk. Yes, the point was super important, and I'm glad they addressed it. But early seasons Owen, he would have been the one giving that lecture. He wasn't ignorant, he was intuitive and experienced. What happened? Also, they made him so effeminate, and not in a bad way. Men should be allowed to show emotion, but they drained every ounce of confidence and grit from him. When he first showed up, he was assertive, a little tortured but composed. Now, he's an insecure, sniveling mess who looks like he's constantly one monologue away from a breakdown. He's like a completely different character, rebranded to fit new Grey's Anatomy M. And honestly, I miss the old Owen, the one who actually felt like a real person, not a cautionary tale in surgeon form. Oh, I miss Izzy. Do I agree with all her choices? Absolutely not. The whole Ghost Denny situation, a hot mess. It was like watching a End-of-Lif supernatural spin-off that accidentally got spliced into a medical drama. But you know what? Katherine Heigl sold it. Every wild-eyed stare and heart-wrenching meltdown, she delivered. And that made Izzy incredibly entertaining to watch, even when her decisions had you screaming at your screen. Honestly, I wish she had been in the shooting episode. Can you imagine Izzy charging through the hospital, dodging bullets, trying to save Alex instead of Lexi? Watching her relive the trauma of almost losing another boyfriend, peak television, I would have been glued to the screen. Yes, Izzy made some truly questionable choices, cutting the LVAD wire, anyone, but let's be real, that scene was iconic. Katherine Heigl's acting was so raw and emotional, you couldn't help but feel for Izzy. She wasn't just reckless, she was passionately reckless. And thank you to everyone who still loves Izzy. She was warm, kind, infuriating, and chaotic. In other words, real. She brought such life and heart to the group. Letting her go felt like losing a friend. Sure, the Denny thing was a lot, but come on, she was trying to save him. It wasn't just blind obsession, it worked. Sort of. Okay, the George thing? Yeah, not her best moment. But relationships on that show are basically a roulette wheel of bad decisions. So let's not pretend she was the only one making poor life choices. I just wish we'd gotten to see her future, her fighting cancer, thriving as a surgeon, and building a life with Alex. Imagine the storylines we missed. Izzy raising her twins in Kansas, navigating motherhood, reconnecting with her dysfunctional family, dealing with IVF, teaching, becoming a badass small-town doctor. And don't even get me started on the potential drama with Alex's side of the family. Siblings, mental health, maybe one of the twins inherits something that pulls them back to Seattle. The possibilities were endless. We were robbed, honestly. God, I hate Teddy more than Owen, and that's saying something. Season 21, Episode 14. So I wasn't even a little bit surprised when Teddy decided to open her marriage. Honestly, saw it coming a mile away. But what really gets me is her acting shocked and betrayed when Owen actually sleeps with someone. Like, hello, ma'am, you opened the marriage. Did you think he was just going to stare at the wall and wait for your permission to do something with it? Sure, she didn't go through with hooking up with the person she was into. Whoever that was, names escape me, and frankly, I don't care. But that doesn't make her the moral high ground here. Owen literally followed the terms she set. And now suddenly he's the bad guy. Classic Teddy move. Makes the rules, then gets mad when someone plays by them. Now, let me be clear, Owen is usually a disaster. Like an absolute walking red flag. But for once, he gets a pass. He did exactly what his wife told him to do, and then got punished for it. I'm not even a fan of his, but in this episode, Team Owen. And can we talk about how Teddy always plays the victim? She's the queen of emotional UNO reverse. Remember her throuple situation with Allison? Mess. Cheating with Karasik? Bigger mess. This? Just another round of Teddy can do no wrong in her own head. Honestly, I tapped out of this show back in season 14 after that military backstory episode. You know the one, where Teddy was insufferable for the entire hour. I couldn't stomach it. Their whole friendship has always been weird. We're supposed to believe she loves Owen after all the emotional whiplash he's given her? Miss me with that. Anyway, rant over. This show can still be great, but wow, Teddy and Owen. Toxic doesn't even begin to cover it. Teddy and Owen, the human embodiment of chaos, just caught last week's episode and wow, what a mess. So Teddy suggests an open marriage because why work through problems when you can throw in emotional grenades? She gets a chance to sleep with someone and decides not to. Growth? Maybe. Meanwhile, Owen actually follows through and sleeps with someone, and suddenly Teddy's furious. The hypocrisy is practically Olympic level. Let's not forget, this is the same woman who spent years pining after Owen, finally got him, and then cheated on him the day they were supposed to get married. Honestly, that alone should have been the final season of their relationship. Teddy's arc lately is giving. I might be a gay woman trying to play it straight, but only sometimes, maybe. And hey, if that's what's going on, cool. But if we're being real, aside from Allison and this new doctor, Teddy's never shown any romantic interest in women. Not even a blink and you miss it moment. She went from obsessing over Owen during the Christina years, to falling for and mourning Henry, to chasing Owen again, and now she's just confused? Maybe this new doctor reminds her of Allison? That would make some sense. Not that we know anything about Allison, besides her name and the fact that she died. Great foundation to build off of. It kind of feels like Teddy doesn't want to admit the truth. She loves Owen, sure, but she doesn't actually want to be with him anymore. That other doctor said, "My marriage was suffocating," and Teddy had her own little epiphany. Not that her marriage is suffocating, just that it's broken in ways she hasn't figured out yet. Meanwhile, poor Owen. He finally got his happily ever after family life, and now Teddy's spiraling into her own drama. Again. Honestly, the problem is that Teddy and Owen are more in love with the idea of being together than actually being together. They've both got decades of emotional baggage and zero willingness to do the real work of unpacking it. Instead, they slap temporary fixes on their mess and act shocked when it all blows up again. And seriously, how is it that someone can ask for an open marriage, then rage when their partner actually follows through? You did the thing I asked for, and now I'm mad. Okay, cool, makes total sense, totally logical. Absolutely not toxic at all. Season 13, especially episode 13, a wild ride. Wow, what a storyline. Bailey and Catherine weren't wrong for wanting to take the residency program in a new direction. Seriously, it's 2017, not 2007, but the way they executed it, yikes. Blindsiding Richard and the rest of the attendings by replacing him without even a heads up. That was cold, like frostbite level cold. It was nice seeing the attendings rally behind Richard, even if they were doing the absolute most. Super dramatic, super on brand for a TV medical drama. But let's be real, they didn't even try to consider Minnick's approach. Did everyone suddenly forget what it was like being the resident? Because they would have killed for that kind of structured, skill-focused training back in the day. Imagine how much more competitive Christina, Alex, Meredith, April, and Jackson would have had it with Minnick's setup in place. And then there's Warren's solo surgery. Bailey and Weber were so wrapped up in their own issues, they barely noticed he was out there doing his thing. It was a big moment for him, and they completely fumbled it. Meanwhile, Minnick and Robbins dropped the ball with Edwards. Robbins should have gone to her first. It's called mentorship, people, and dealt with Minnick later. Thankfully, Weber was there to pick up the pieces. Oh, and April flipping sides? That felt abrupt. All we saw was one vague convo with Bailey, then boom, she's Team Minnick. But hey, can we really blame her? It's her career, and she took the opportunity presented to her. Everyone calling her a traitor conveniently forgets they would have done the exact same thing if given the chance. Especially the season 1 to 5 versions of themselves. Let's not pretend. And let's talk about the whole, what was even the point of Minnick, arc. They hyped her up, made all this mess, and then just bailed? Most of season 13 ended up feeling like filler, a chaotic, drama-laden detour with no real payoff. Bailey hiding the real reason for hiring Minnick to protect feelings also felt weird. That's not the Bailey we met early on, the one who was all blunt honesty and tough love. And let's not forget Richard's role in Edward's final disaster. He didn't follow the rules and let her take on patients too soon. That's on him, not just Minnick. Season 13 was basically a train wreck, but like the kind you can't stop watching. Catherine was throwing her weight around like it was a sport. Bailey was stuck in the middle of a power tug-of-war, and Minnick's whole "I'll win them over one at a time" plan was laughably naive. Like, girl, this isn't a rom-com, it's a hospital. You need your team on board. And shoot out to Ben, who crushed his solo surgery while Bailey and Richard were too busy acting like kids fighting over a toy to notice. So yeah, tons of drama, tons of bickering, not always the best decisions, but still fun in that chaotic Grey's way. Thoughts? Be nice in the comments, folks. Karev man, what a journey. Okay, so this is my first post in the group, hello, and yeah, I'm still figuring out how this sub works, hence the spoilery rant. Bear with me. I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy from the beginning while on maternity leave, because why not revisit old trauma while dealing with new life? Anyway, I've hit the part where Karev gives Izzy his sperm, romantic, so she can freeze embryos, and then years later, he just leaves Joe to go be with Izzy and their surprise twin toddlers. And I've gotta say, I hated that plot twist way more than most people did. I haven't caught up past season 21, so I'm just stewing over this all over again, because really, that's how he exits. Let's talk about the logic jump here. Alex knew for years that he gave Izzy permission to use the embryos however she wanted. He even downplayed it to Joe, saying it was no big deal, just him, a cup, and a magazine. Nothing emotional, nothing binding, just a favor for a friend. But then, out of nowhere, he finds out he has kids and immediately goes full dad of the year. Suddenly, these kids, whom he's never met, are the missing piece of his soul and the reason he must abandon his wife and entire life. That's a leap, a pole vaulting over a mountain type leap. And while I get that people grow and change, yes, even devil spawn, it still felt jarring. Sure, Karev matured. He told Meredith he wanted pancake Sundays. He wanted normalcy, family, something stable. And maybe discovering he had that waiting for him triggered something deep in his core. I can acknowledge that. Still, I don't love how he handled it. Writing letters instead of having real conversations. Classic avoidance. But I do get what he said. Nobody would have been happy for him. Not Joe, not Meredith, not the viewers who rooted for him to finally become someone better. But maybe he finally decided to stop self-sabotaging and go after what he wanted. Do I like that he chose Izzy? Not really. Do I think Joe was the better endgame? Absolutely. But do I understand why he made the choice? Yeah, weirdly, I do. Anyway, sorry for the ramble. I just had a lot of Kara feelings, okay? Can we please talk about how much Callie Torres has been through? Okay, listen. I feel like people are constantly throwing sympathy at Meredith Grey. Fair, she's been through it. But can we please take a moment to appreciate the absolute chaos that is Callie Torres' life? Like, she deserves a dedicated trauma timeline at this point. When Callie first showed up, I wasn't sold. But then, I fell hard. The more we saw of her, the more it became obvious that this woman had layers, and heartbreak, and a lot of bad luck. Let's start with George. Sweet, floppy-haired George. She married him. He cheated on her. And then he died. Yes, I know not everyone loved their relationship, but their friendship was actually really wholesome. So when she found out about his death, absolutely gut-wrenching. But oh, we're just getting started. Fast forward to season 7. Callie is finally in love with Arizona. Things are looking semi-okay for once. Enter the infamous musical episode. Yes, that one. The one that had no business hitting so hard. Just imagine, Callie, pregnant with her and Mark's baby, gets proposed to by the love of her life, and then bam, truck. Literal truck. She crashes through the windshield like a human missile. There's blood, chaos, and a baby that's like, "Hi, I'd like to arrive now." How is this a sashayovu? Oh right, it is. Anyway, after barely surviving that, things sort of settle, and then the plane crash, because why not throw in a little aviation disaster, right? Mark, Callie's best friend and baby daddy, and Arizona, now her wife, are on that flight. The plane goes down. Lexi dies. Mark is critically injured. Arizona breaks her leg. Meanwhile, Callie's just chilling back home, completely unaware her entire world is falling apart in a forest somewhere. And then she has to amputate Arizona's leg. The one thing she promised she wouldn't do, but she has no choice. Arizona comes back furious and resentful, and Callie is left dealing with that storm. Oh, and Mark? Yeah, he dies too, just in case Callie didn't already have enough grief to carry. And guess what? Things still manage to get worse. Arizona and Callie start fighting constantly. Everything revolves around the Lakenim. Tension builds. Arizona cheats. They divorce. Callie can't catch a break. But wait, there's more. Derek, Eka Meredith's husband, Aka, another one of Callie's closest friends through Mark, dies. And then Arizona sues for custody of Sophia. So Callie, who gave birth to this child, now needs permission to be involved in her life. Make it make sense. And just when you think the writers have squeezed all the pain they can out of her storyline, we find out Callie's own mother disowned her for being gay, and the new girl she finally starts dating? Yeah, turns out she was involved in Derek's death. Like, how is she still standing? How does she even get out of bed in the morning? Look, I'm not saying Callie has it worse than every other character. I'm just saying she's gone through hell, and people forget. But not me. I will cry in this corner on her behalf.